I'm Faith, and welcome to Faith's Take, where I talk about anything and everything that I find interesting. And here's my little reaction slash review of episode 1306 of Mystery Science Theater on the Gizmoplex, Demon Squad, also known as episode 223 of the show as a whole, and also I believe the only episode this season to fully be hosted by Joel. So this is obviously a very important one, not just for the Gizmoplex, but the series in general, with Joel coming back to host for the first time ever. The closest they ever had was he cameoed in Soul Taker back in season 10. I think that was like 1001. And has not been back on the S.O.L. since. Officially he has had cameos as other characters, and he's always the guy sending the movie in the Netflix and now Gizmoplex episodes, but he himself is not in them. He is not. Joel Robinson is not a character in the series until now. So I'm going to really quickly give what I'm hoping the episode is, and just a real quick some thoughts as a whole about the season thus far. To let you guys know, because a lot of people are like, you know, I don't want you to be offended or upset, but I feel very differently, I really enjoy it, or whatever, I feel differently about this part than you. That's totally fine. I want you guys, like, I want this, the point of my channel, I'll put it this way, since the very beginning, has like to be a fun, safe place where we can forget the problems of the real world. That's why, like, I try to never talk about real life stuff. I just focus on the stuff in the show and the stuff affecting the shows I'm talking about. That's it. I make, you know, reviews and a couple of riffs and things like this, reactions, things about the stuff that I'm passionate about, so it finds other passionate people that like them. And if you disagree with me, 100%. If you watch my videos just because you like disagreeing with me, that's also fine. So if you are watching these videos and you're like, man, I like Faith's videos, or I've enjoyed them in the past, but like her thoughts on this season have been really wrong, or I really disagree with them, that's totally fine. You know, like I am not upset at anyone that isn't upset by like the green screen stuff. You know what I mean? It's all my personal opinion, like that, and that I try to make that very clear that like that's my opinion. But I also want to make it clear that like I am not upset at anyone ever just for like not liking something I like, or vice versa, like liking something I dislike. I never have it out for people. I'm never upset at that. I want us to be able to have conversations and civil conversations. And if you want to be one of those people that's like, just let the guys riff, what are you doing? Or if you're going to be like, you're out of line, like, okay, then leave. Like, that's fine. I don't care. If you want to leave, go ahead. Doors right there on YouTube and Twitch and everything else. But for the rest of us that want to have conversations and enjoy and discuss this stuff together, I am in no way upset or offended ever. You guys don't need to walk on eggshells or handle me with kids' gloves in that sense. I knew being on the internet what I was getting into in terms of some people are just going to hate you for no reason, let alone your actual opinions. So if you have a different one than me, this is as the owner and host of this channel, this is a safe place for all of us to chill and hang out, including discussing it with me, even if your opinion is the exact opposite of mine. I just wanted to say that really quick, especially because I don't know how I'm going to feel about this episode. I don't know how many people feel about this episode, but I wanted to get that out there because that way, if I either really like it or really hate it and you thought the opposite, I just didn't want anyone to feel like they can't just be honest and say what they feel because of my feelings or whatever. Like, that is not the case. So all I know is the time travel bit that was in the end of the one I just watched, Dr. Mordred. And so we'll see how it goes. I think the time travel, it's an easy out, but I will absolutely take it because the show has done time travel before. It did it in Time Chasers. It also can't, let's hope and pray, it can't ruin the ending of the original run of the show if it's time travel. Because if they just pick Joel up and like a couple random bots, I'd be like, are you ruining the ending of that show? And if they're time traveling, they shouldn't be. So there we go. I'm hoping that it works out. I haven't seen Joel riff anything in a long, long time. I mean, I didn't even really watch Cinematic Titanic that much because I didn't like it that much. It was a little slow for me. That's about all the post stuff about Joel that I've ever seen is a little bit of Cinematic Titanic and then like the Riff Tracks Mystery Science Reunion live show. So I assume it'll be similar. I think I said in my, I haven't edited it yet, but I think I said in my Dr. Mordred review that I'm fascinated to see what they do in terms of writing, because Joel has such a particular style of riffing. So my question is, are they going to write to his strengths for his episode, Or are they writing it the same way? Because they're clearly writing the Jonah and Emily video episodes in almost the exact same way, if not just the exact same, and then dragging and dropping the casts into whatever. So did they just give Joel a random episode, or did they write it specifically for him? I don't know. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm excited, but I'm also kind of nervous, especially because I know some people are just going to be excited to have Joel back, and that's great. But I'm like, it's okay to be excited, and then also, like, not look at it just with rose-colored glasses on, which is what I'm, but then also not to look at it completely cynically with, like, black-colored glasses on. So I'm trying to come at it straight in the middle. Like, I'm excited that, like, it's fun to see Joel back. But, and I mentioned this in Dr. Mordred, they haven't really let even Emily stand on her own 2 feet yet, because both her episodes so far have had other hosts either in them or directly mentioned. You had Jonah in her first one, and you had Joel mentioned all throughout this last one. Like, oh, we're getting another host. So, I just feel like if you're going to have a season where Joel comes back and a season with a second riffer, I just don't think they should have been the same season, or the season should have been much longer. Like, it should have been 20 to 24 episodes then. I think 3 hosts, and one of them being bringing Joel back, is kind of a lot to mix into one season. I think those are kind of... Emily and Joel are 2 big enough events that they could have been in separate seasons. Whoa. In the theater, the crew watches as a paranormal investigator is tasked with saving the world from demonic forces in Demon Squad. Meanwhile, on the S.O.L, the original test subject returns, and Tom Servo's voice is reverted back to its factory settings. Sheesh. Oh my goodness. Oh, I heard rumors like a month ago. People were like, I heard it was Josh. Because I said, who's doing Joel's bots? Is it Hampton and Barron? Is it Kelsey and Connor? Like, who's doing Joel's bots then? And most people were like, I don't know. Someone's like, I heard it was Josh, because he's coming back for a cameo anyway as Dr. Earhart. Let's see, I guess. That's just confusing to me. This is a weird-ass season, guys. This is really weird. Wait, does that mean Josh is gonna sing it too? Is he gonna... What? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, can I have a prediction real fast? Guys, have a prediction real fast? Okay. I thought he was just gonna grab Joel, not the entire effing satellite. And because he's grabbed the entire effing satellite, both bots would need to be either Trace and Josh or Trace and Kevin, depending on the era. So the fact that the little bloop about the plot line only said Tom kind of freaks me out. I'm like, then who's gonna be Crone? What's your excuse gonna be? Just let's see. I'll stop interrupting it and just let it play. But I didn't think it was gonna be the whole effing satellite. I thought it was just gonna be Joel.
Dr. Earhart will be back from the time back.
Is she eating circus peanuts? Worst candy.
Who did you bring us?
I don't know. I just grabbed the first S.O.L I could find and threw it.
Okay.
I didn't
Funny.
do a white guy roll call.
Oh yeah, that shit. Oh, hey, hello, hey, can anybody hear me?
What?
Joel?
What does he look? Wait a minute. Okay, hang on. Prediction real quick. Because my thought was, what are they going to do? Because Joel's going to look so much older. I was like, okay, it's time travel, but he's going to look 30 years older. How are you going to play that off, like in a joke? And the way they just looked at him and they're like, Joel? Like, why do you... Implying that it's the way he looks, because obviously they knew it would be either Joel or Mike. Implying it's the way he looks. So... Did he not time travel? Is this like modern Joel? In which case, why is he in the satellite? Why is there Oh, please do not ruin the ending of the show. That just hit me at once. Like, oh, shoot. They could absolutely still ruin the ending if he's doing that. Okay. Oh, I'm so scared and confused. Oh, I'm so worried. Oh, yeah, this was like a 2019 movie, I think it said. So I think this is like the most recent one on this season. See, okay, so that's a GPC 2. So they're just using straight up the Emily theme song, just what Joel put in? Because I don't think they're going to just give him Emily's bots, right? Unless they do. I don't know what's happening.
Robinson, you look different than I remember.
Right.
Oh, Well, if Dr. Earhart was trying to go into the past, he kind of screwed up. See, I'm from the year 3000, and from the looks of your primitive domicile, I was pulled from your future.
I'm sorry. What is happening already? Okay.
Year 3000, and from the looks of your primitive domicile, I was pulled from
3000.
your future.
Oh, I mean, for 1,000 years old, he looks good.
The future, huh?
That doesn't make sense. That like how?
Leave the petty name calling to me.
Okay, wait, but how is Joel 3,000 years in the future? Because what? You have to explain it. If they okay, look again. If you're gonna add lore, especially lore that's convoluted or like wouldn't make sense, you gotta explain it at least a little bit. Like I Joel's from the year 3000. Okay, why? May I ask why? And may I ask why he's on a satellite? He escaped. So why is he on a satellite again? Like he went up there to save Mike and the bots and like Soul Taker because he realized the ship was going to self-destruct and he had to go save them. So he did. Then he abandons them. He just leaves them there to go back to Earth. So in between that time, how the hell did he end up back in space, back on a satellite that looks just like the old one, but flat? And also, like, how did he live for 1,000 years? Why is he there for 1,000 years? Apparently he's lived that long. Is he a Time Lord? What happened? I thought Joel was just a regular guy. They for the love of God, please explain. You can't, please explain it. Please don't just leave this hanging also. Please. I mean, I'll watch till the end with bated breath. But you know what? I shouldn't hold my effing breath because they always are like, here's a really convenient thing for like an explanation that not only will we never explain, but we won't even make funny. So what's the effing point? If it's not going to be funny and you're not going to explain anything, then why is it in this comedy show?
Well, they were on a spacewalk when the satellite got towed. My guess is they're still floating around somewhere in the year 3000, which is kind of apt when you think about it, what with the show being named Mystery Science.
Yeah, I get it. I got the effing joke from the beginning. Okay. I got that would be a joke they'd make immediately. I don't care. What I care about is where Joel get those bots. If this is future Joel in the future, because what I don't like, what I'm confused about, and what I'm worried about, even if they answer the question of how Joel did all this in 3,000 years or whatever. If he has bots, did he rebuild bots to have with him on this 1,000-year adventure? Or is the implication that if they're Joel's bots, then they're the OG bots, in which case I will rip my own eyeballs out. Like, please, just for the love of God, explain and don't ruin the old ending.
To use Emily's bots? I mean, she's not using them right now.
Oh, that is just a... That's actually not the
Okay.
worst idea.
So is that why they did Emily's theme song, I guess?
Simulator of love and... Oh! Do it yourself, cowboy bebopper!
You can see through the scarves! My God! Okay, look at Kinga's neck. Dear Lord. Okay, hang on. Look at Kinga's neck, like right here. Look at that part of her neck. Dude, look. Move again, girl. There it is! You can see straight effing through her neck! You can see through the neck! I'm so tired. No, I'm tired for other reasons, but I just don't get it. Someone else made the point that I've also tried to make on the comments of I Think Robot Wars, which is like, the thing about the green screen is if the idea is supposed to be that it's cheap, because the original show looked cheap, the difference is, again, unlike with the original show, we know what their budget was, we know what the money they had was, and the bigger difference is that when you do cheap, as in we have to hot glue junk on the wall and spray paint it for a set, that comes off as homemade and charming. I think the word they used was charming, which is apt. But if it's cheap green screen, especially in 2022, that just looks cheap and lazy, or like you just didn't care. And so, again, if they had cheap-looking sets for, like, Jonah, Emily, and Joel, and then maybe cheap-looking green screen for the Mads, I would get it, because the Mads have the windows, so you're gonna make all that look cheap to go with the cheap actual built sets. I would get it. And it would seem bad on purpose then. But because every single set is green screen, and every single set has bad green screen at some point, that's the problem. I will give them points. I noticed this with the time travel thingy, but I was too invested in the plot, I guess. I do like that the background is Christmas lights and you can see that it looks like Christmas lights. 100%. Thank the Lord. I appreciate that a lot. That you can tell it's Christmas lights, just like the old set was, and they're making sure you can tell, which again, that is clearly on purpose. So, thank you. That, for God's sake, thank you very much.
Well, listen, in the 70s, mood rings were all the rage. They allowed people to tell what your mood
I like Krogan to just enjoy his little drink, though, being like, yeah, whatever.
Too much swagger?
Hi.
What is happening?
Whoa.
Back alley stiff. That's literal.
Why is there also no music?
Come on, I'm
There's like no score at all.
Oh, he had her the second she saw that hat.
She's already dead.
Jim. Sorry, I had to say it.
Okay, there. Okay, just leave it. Just leave it. I was gonna be like, oh, what a good old reference to the show that they would do all the time, like that reference they would do all the time. Don't apologize, for God's sake. Like, when they do riffs like that, don't congratulate yourself for certain riffs, which they've done this season, I think in Robot Wars, and I pointed out. Don't apologize for riffs, even if they're old or seem old or they're old reference. Just do it and let it lie and let us laugh. You don't have to apologize. Like, just do it. Just do it.
Wait, is there a Party City back there?
Yeah, well, it's all just... What? Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. It's the fakest. Oh. Nice Finding Nemo reference, though.
Oh, we are so not cleaning that up.
Look at these guys! I'm sorry. Why did it become the stereotype that, like, all demon assailants have to be beaten in Latin? That's not even true. It's like, not to get super religious, but just real quick, if this is gonna come up, it's like, as a Christian, if you truly believe, and you are believing in the power of the Holy Spirit, not the power of you as a Christian, but the power of the Holy Spirit in you, technically anyone can do that. Like, if you, like, I shouldn't say anyone, the Holy Spirit God can use anyone to do that. It's like someone once said, it's kind of like, if you are casting out a demon, it's God using you to be like, be gone, thought, and yeet the demon away.
Things still cost money, right?
He's older than I am.
Still works on it.
Wait, whoa. They had the leprechaun. Wait a minute. Is that the leprechaun drawing on the wall? Like, what I just want to know where to go at. Oh my God. That's the one point I will give this movie thus far, is that is legitimately funny. That is legitimately funny. To be like, in this world, that's real. And something he needs to take care of. Legitimate points for that one, man.
You win again, Carmen Sandiego.
She does look like that.
Oh, maybe it's a screwdriver then?
Bling, 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 bling.
How about a mimosa?
Black. Jeeves, you heard the lady. Coffee, black.
Do you have an alarm in this place? It was deactivated and ripped from the wall.
Well, that's not a very effective alarm, then.
Somebody had
Jeeves, fetch me my Instagram.
It's kind of weird hearing Joel say things like Instagram.
One more look back for authenticity.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
Oh, it's so bad.
I'm not here. I'm trying to keep this one on the down low.
Just the fact, wait a minute. Just the fact that he wears a cross necklace, wouldn't all of these bad guys, or at least a lot of them, know, like, hey, this dude's probably not on our side. How the hell did he sneak into our bar?
A torso?
Torso, it seems.
Ah.
Doodle-doo, Inspector Gadget.
So far, the riffing has been, like, good and mostly in line with, like, what the other two hosts have had. They have thrown in a few lines. I'm sure Joel was also writing this. I think he helped write most of them, though. But I think he threw in a few lines that were obviously for him specifically. Oh, it's gonna be like, cheers. Man, this is definitely a, like, I know of it because my family would watch, Me TV, and this would be on sometimes. We wouldn't really watch it, but I would, like, you'd see the opening a lot. So,
was filmed in front of a dead
like,
studio
so I get it, but this shows like just how old-fashioned they wrote this one for Joel, because I don't think they'd have a Cheers bit in an Emily or Jonah movie, most likely. I could be wrong. I feel like it's a little bit old-fashioned for either of them to do. So Joel doing it, I guess, so that makes it feel a lot more like this was written for Joel.
Yeah, I'm starting to rethink the idea of doing an elaborate Cheers parody simply because they had a lame dragon puppet in the movie.
Yeah, right?
Fall apart at the end.
I also like puppets doing puppets. I like that they had Crow doing a puppet. That's always fun. Not bad. That was like very classic. And then them pointing out at the end, like, why did we do this exactly?
You, Paul.
Who wants to know?
The International Paul Society.
Yeah.
Paranormal investigator?
There's always a Paul in these movies. Oh, oh my gosh. I'll give them this too. Not only have they slowed down the riffs a lot, compared to like, especially the early Netflix episodes, but they're also leaving nice stretches of blank space for the plot dialogue. Because some of the movies barely have any plot dialogue, or it's not relevant at all, so they can talk over it or riff on it, it's fine. But with this scene, I'm like, they're not really riffing that much, and I think it's because this is very plot dialogue heavy, so they're letting it breathe, which I really appreciate, because there's some episodes and some riff tracks that do that, because it's like, you need to kind of at least vaguely understand what's going on.
Surrender Dorothy?
He was well aware of the risk.
Swiper, no swiping!
Mention the dagger's core. It's already on its way, Moonpie.
He used to call me Moon Pie.
He used to call me. This ex-Pizza Hut ain't big enough for the two of us. Pete Davidson out. Before it turns back into a pumpkin. Well, maybe you're a pumpkin.
Hey, Joel, what you working on?
Oh, I'm just rebooting Tom's voice so it's back to its factory settings. If
Don't.
this works, you want in?
Nah, maybe later.
First of all, love that Crow, though, is satisfied with his current voice. Hopefully it's just a host segment. Hopefully it's just a host segment.
like tears.
Bring back Connor. Are they really gonna have Josh do the rest of the episode instead of Connor? I think that's kind of mean. You already had Connor, and he was doing well. Like, this episode has been solid. So, like, let him finish it. Like, what? Like, okay. Like, nothing against Josh. If they had wanted it to be Josh's servo, like, if they'd wanted it to be Josh's servo, maybe they should have just done it from the beginning. Doing it in the middle seems unnecessary and rude. It seems like they're like, well, new guy, you've been holding your own this episode, but Josh is here, so we're just replacing you mid-episode. I'm like, then either have him do the whole thing, or don't have him do it at all, or just a segment, you know? I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, cool. It's like, I don't know. I think that Connor was doing fine, you know? I think that, I'm getting used to both, like, Connor and Kelsey in this personification of Tom and Crow. I just feel like these guys are just getting their sea legs. Like, please let them have their episodes, you know? It's like, I said this way back when they announced that Emily and a new crew would be coming in. I was like, Jonah, Hampton, and Barron only had 20 episodes and couldn't do all the live shows even, so like, why don't you let them just have one more season of them? They brought Emily in the crew, and I'm like, okay, can Emily have a freaking episode where another host isn't in it or mentioned? Can these guys do an episode where it's like, well, Josh is here, we're gonna replace the voice halfway through? I'm like, if you're gonna add people and you're gonna change certain things like that, then, like, give them time to, like, breathe and be on their own. You know? Like, I get wanting the cameos or wanting the having you in an episode and adjusting it and, like, all that. I get it. Like, you want those, you know, rose-colored glasses, nostalgia points. But for me, I'm like, either fully commit to the nostalgia route, or, like, let it go and just go with the new stuff. And even then, you're always going to have the nostalgia, because Crow and Tom look the same, because the idea of the concept of the show is the same. It's like, you're always going to have the nostalgia regardless. So if you want Joel and Josh in the episode, then fine, just do that. But if you want the new people, then let them breathe and have their thing.
Say,
You'll be a dentist.
Dude,
the surprise?
you're so freaking sus.
Martha's Vineyard.
Oh,
You're so sus. Like, no. That's not an excuse. He thinks there are people out to kill you. And he calls out your name and you don't answer. I don't care what the effing surprise is, or like if you want to be all sexy or whatever. You answer! First of all, because he could have easily shot you. Secondly, like, after having almost a heart attack, being like, oh my gosh, this woman almost died under my care, I would not be in the mood for anything.
Sure, from Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Watch out, he's gonna scar!
Oh.
Not gonna lie, guys, like, so far, I think I like Connor's reads on the riffs in this episode way more than Josh is.
They're quite a distraction.
What every woman wants to hear.
This is so bad, man. This is such a bad movie.
This is flirting, right?
This movie, man, the dialogue.
Check your
I'm dead. Girlfriend. On the other side of an interdimensional portal.
Yeah, we're long distance.
But no one else is one of those.
Star-Lord, hello. Yeah, anytime we can bite the heads off something with...
Oh no, change Tom back.
We're there.
Change Tom back.
Knuckleheads, as long as your aunts Pearl and Cynthia are okay with it.
Oh, please.
This is cute and in line with the old bots. Tom better be effing changed back in the next Emily episode. I assume he will be. If not, I'm not even gonna go there. Honestly, I like Connor's riffing in this style that they write these episodes in. I think he was riffing better than Josh was, to be honest. Like, Josh, unfortunately, never was in a super strong season of the series to begin with. He only had KTMA in season 1. So, a lot of the riffs back then were rougher. There were a lot fewer and far between. So, and that's not any riffer's fault. That was just the writing just wasn't as strong. So, it's not even that I'm like, oh, I don't like Josh's riffer. I don't think that's the case. But he's never been the strongest riffer, nor has he had the strongest scripts to work with, though. Just in my opinion. And so having him come back and be this servo when it's like the style of these scripts are very different, even from just the Comedy Central seasons. Took one of those scripts, take one of these scripts, they're clearly written, they both have completely different vibes. And I actually like Connor's riffing better than Josh's in this vibe, I will say. Again, Josh hasn't had a lot of a chance in Mystery Science itself. I know Cinematic Titanic, but I'm saying Mystery Science to, like, have a lot of good riffing to work with or, like, stronger jokes. And here's the thing that is not Josh's fault at all. The writing was way weaker in the second half. Like, way weaker. The first half of the episode, maybe first, like, more than a third, maybe a half of the episode, in terms of riffs, written pretty well. The movie was goofy, like, the whole movie was goofy, but, like, the riffs are written pretty well, and I mentioned that, like, there are parts of the plot where, like, they let the plot speak for itself, and that worked. As it went on, there were some scenes where the riffs seemed very few and far between, like, in scenes where, in hindsight, that plot dialogue didn't matter as much, you could have riffed over it, or even if not, then in those slow scenes, the jokes need to, that's the thing, if you're gonna let the plot speak for itself, that does make the riffing a little more important to where, like, the riffs now need to hit harder, and I think the second half was actually extraordinarily weak, compared to other, guys, like, I feel like this season, the only episode worth watching beginning to end again is, like, Munchie, and I think that's it. Then really, the only reason to watch the Joel episode is if you want to see Joel riff in this setting again, because there's not much to the episode as a whole. The host segments, I thought, were pretty good in terms of, like, harkening back to the old ones, at the end with the bots wanting to go back and see Joel, when they're not with Emily, is cute, but there was literally no reason to change Tom's voice, but even taking that out of it, script-wise, it just got a lot weaker in that second half. Like, if you want to see a movie that's just really goofy, that also happens to be riffed, and you're like you just like cheesy bad movies, that would still be a good episode just for how stupid it is. But if you're watching these, like most of us, primarily for the riffs And especially if you're like my dad, and it's really hard for you to like get into the bad movies and not just be like, then that is not an episode for you. Because the movie's bad and goofy, which I can appreciate. But if you're a person that's like, the movie's bad and goofy, but the riffs are so good, and that's the only reason you watch it, it's hard for you to enjoy how goofy the movie is. Which, like I said, my own dad has issues with that depending on the movie. Then I would not suggest this one, to be honest, unless you really just want to see Joel riffing in this setting again. I felt like in the beginning, they were hitting pretty good. It's like the movie was goofy, the riffs were hitting pretty well. And again, I think most of the host segments felt natural and normal in this setting, other than the convoluted opening. And again, they didn't effing explain why he's 3,000 years in the future. I'm losing my mind. And I guarantee someone's already said it if it's true, if it's from the live show, well, in the live shows, they set it up because blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. You shouldn't punish the fans like me who couldn't get to or couldn't afford to go to those shows and be like, oh, well, you didn't see that? Well, now you're going to be lost in terms of like the lore we're building. That's really stupid. You could have just dropped one line of dialogue. You could also drop references so you're rewarding the people that did go with like jokes that they'll get. But you're not punishing those of us that didn't go by, like, not understanding what the plot is. I could be wrong, and that's not what happened. But the last time something like this happened, it was like, well, in the live show. And I'm like, not all of us can see the live show. And if you're gonna build it up at the end of the Gauntlet, and then never bring it up again, but you're gonna have a ton of references and things to it, and plot lines that only make sense if you've seen it, like, that's a problem. I know I'm assuming there, but I'm like, they literally don't say anything else about it other than that he's 1,000 years in the future, and I can't think of anything else that would have explained it except for the live shows because I know Joel was in them. I could absolutely be wrong. If someone knows what's going on and could explain it to me, then please do. But that's the thing, guys. Like, there are sections of episodes that I like. There are host segments that I like. I'm getting used to, like, Emily's crew more. I think Dr. Mordred showed more of what they can do, including that bit at the end in the credits was really good at building up these personalities of this Emily, Crow, and Tom. Very much. But I think the only one that I could watch beginning to end again most likely would be Munchie. Second would be Dr. Mordred. Other than that, I don't know if I'm going to come back to any of these episodes. I think now's a good time to talk about that because we're finally at a full-on break for like 2.5 weeks before the next episode comes out, which is Gamera, so hopefully that's fun. Yeah, Munchie is the only one that kept me laughing the whole way through. Dr. Mordred would probably be the close second, or not close second. I think Munchie is like easily the best, but Dr. Mordred would be like easily the second best because I think everything else is pretty low. I think Dr. Mordred was also a better just episode in terms of introducing these new characters, way better than Beyond Atlantis was. They felt a lot more at home in this one. So that's the thing. And again, you immediately rip them out of that home and put them in one with Joel. And like, Joel can still riff, obviously. I had no doubt that he would do well in the episode, and he did. But I think about halfway through, it's like they lost their mojo in terms of, like, in the writer's room. It wasn't even the performances. Like I said, I'm not even saying, oh, Josh's performance was, like, not good. Just for me, I think Connor's better at delivering this vibe of lines. Not that Josh is terrible. I think he had less to work with than Connor did. I think in this episode, because the first half was a lot stronger, and the second half was a lot weaker. And so I think actually Josh did what he could with what he had, which was not much. But regardless, it's the writing for me where I'm like, the host segments actually in this one were a little bit stronger or in line with what I thought would be in a Joel episode, you know? But like, it went downhill, man. Like, and for such a goofy movie, I feel like the riffs could have been way stronger in that second half. I don't know what happened. Like, it feels like, and I could be wrong, but it feels like the writers just got tired of it. And we're like, this movie's horrible, and it's boring, and I don't like it, and like, it just stopped. I could be absolutely completely wrong. I'm not saying that makes them bad writers. Yeah, so I just feel like it was a bit of a grab bag in terms of how weird the plot was, why you don't explain the whole 1,000 years thing, the excuse. I guess this is what they could have done that would have made more sense to me. It's like, have it be that Joel's Crow was out on a spacewalk and his Tom wasn't, and then just have it be Josh doing that servo. And then we could just assume, because that was the original servo voice anyway, that's just what Joel had for his current servo, his future servo, whatever you want to say. Instead of just having it be Connors at all. I don't know. I feel like that was just weird. I don't like that idea. Also, what made them pick Emily's bots over Jonah's bots? Were they, like, shooting in the same... Was Joel shooting in the same area with them? Could he have had either or? And if so, why did he pick Emily's and not Jonah's? Because they've been in less episodes? Because, like, I don't know why. Because, again, I'm like, that's weird, because if you want ones that sound closer to the originals, or especially a Crow, you would pick Jonah's. So I don't know why they picked that. That's not, like, a complaint or anything. I just want to know, like, why they picked that. Guys, like, I want to really like this season. I want to like every new season. I do. I think a lot of people have convinced themselves that I don't, but I swear to God that I do. If I didn't, why would I even be like, I like Munchie, and I feel like Emily's crew's getting their feet wet? I wouldn't say those things if I didn't want to like it. I would just be like, this all sucks, and it doesn't. There are episodes that are good, or episodes that make sense, or they're making more sense, or they're getting their feet, like, in there, and it's starting to work. But the ones that don't work just really don't work. They're just really boring. And the line reads that don't work also really don't work. And that includes of Jonah and his bots. There's some line reads where I'm just like, geez. Like, when they have Baron go really high, like, it sounds like someone is trying to use a grater in your ear. It's like someone took a knife and it's just like, into your ear. Like... For as jarring as Kelsey's Crow is, and how there are some lines where I'm like, especially in that first episode. But again, she is covering up someone else as she is doing a dub, which cannot be easy. I completely say that is absolutely true. There are some barren lines, especially in a Pipeline to the Clouds, where I was editing it for that Robot Wars video, and I was like, dear God, like... There are just some lines, I don't know why they direct him that way or why he chooses to do it and they let him, like, there are just some line reads, even of the other crew, that aren't great, and I don't know why they go with them. I'm not saying every single line of the original was always read perfect, or every single riff track is perfect, or whatever, but it just, there's just something... There's clearly at least one, if not multiple elements missing in all the newer seasons, but particularly this one, which is weird because in the other seasons, because so far, like I said, the only one I fully recommend you getting, if you haven't, just personally, is Munchie. That's 1 out of 6, okay? Maybe Dr. Mordred, even then, I think there are scenes that were kind of bored, but that's just what I say. In season 11, of the first 6 episodes, I would easily suggest both Avalanche and Beast of Hollow Mountain. Reptilicus and Cry Wilderness, not for me. A lot of people love Cry Wilderness. That's fine. It just wasn't for me. Time Travelers is okay, but I think once you watch it once, you get the gist. Star Crash is also okay. I think it could have been a lot stronger. The second half of the season gets better. Like I said, though, already 2 in those first 6 that I really do like and will have watched multiple times, will watch in the future most likely. Then there's Land That Time Forgot, okay. Loves of Hercules, getting better. Yongary's pretty good, definitely better than Reptilicus for a big monster movie. Both Wizards of the Lost Kingdom movies are good. I enjoy Carnival Magic and The Christmas That Almost Wasn't. A lot of people don't like those, but I really like those. Clearly there's something in some of these episodes that I'm seeing that other people aren't, and vice versa, that you guys are seeing that I don't. You know, because a lot of people love Cry Wilderness and Mac and Me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, especially with Mac and Me, just... But then Carnival Magic, Christmas That Almost Wasn't, I'm just like, yeah, and the riffs are so strong, and everyone else is like, I hate those episodes. So, it's, and then At the Earth's Core is like, eh. And then season 12 starts out really rough for me. It starts out with Mac and Me, and they cut the most iconic scene in the movie, so you don't even get to see it riffed. So what was the effing point of choosing Mac and Me? Atlantic Rim, everyone agrees that it sucks. I don't think I've ever seen even one person say they enjoy that episode, because it's so boring. Because they've done boring movies. Every single like, I mean, I was gonna say someone else, but the Roger Corman, usually boring, but the, who am I thinking of? Coleman Francis. All his films are like the most boring things you've ever seen. Skydivers, super boring, but I love that episode. Everyone seems to really enjoy that one because it's still really fun, and, like, the riffs are really good, I mean. Atlantic Rim, most boring movie, like, ever made. The riffs don't gotta be that way, though. The riffs can still be good, because we've seen it happen over and over. Then we had Lords of the Deep, which is a little better. Daytime Ended, a little better. And then Killer Fish and Ator are both very, very good. So, it's like you had 2 really bad ones, 2 okay ones, like, probably worth watching again, even though I haven't since I watched them. And then the last 2 are definitely the best, and I know I need to watch them again because they were a lot better. But, like, season 12 took 2 episodes. Season 11 took 3 episodes, and then you got a really good one, and then you had another really good one. You know, this season's a little more up and down, I feel like, where it was like, you know, weak, and especially now looking back, especially after seeing Bunchy, for instance, it really shows off how weak those first ones were. Like, even though they're all Jonah and his bots at the same team, even if you take Emily's out of it and you're just looking at Jonah's first 2, like that crew's first 2, they're not that great. Like, I would, you know, like, if the thing is with Netflix, if you already had a Netflix subscription, all you're putting in there is your time. And I would say if you're just putting in your time, always give it a chance, whether it's Mystery Science or anything. If you're just using your time and you're interested at all, then watch it. The problem is, with these, it's not just your time. If you were not a Kickstarter donor, it's also your money, and quite a bit of it if you're not just renting them. And so, just like with Riff Trek shorts, it's like, I'm going to be honest if I'm like, this one's a little bit weaker or whatever. Or, you know, like when I talk about Riff Trek, some people are like, hey, when you give one 5 stars, I go and get it, which is great. Well, I also have to be honest if something sucks and, you know, if it's weaker. Or if you ask me about a Riff Trek short or Riff Trek's movie and I'm like, I don't think it's worth it, I would tell you. Like, I would absolutely tell you. So, it's just, you know, I feel like Emily and the crew taking at least 2 episodes to, like, get into it, that I understand. I understand her first episode being weak. After 20 episodes, though, there really was no excuse for Jonah's first 2 episodes to be as weak as they actually are. Like, they're fine. Like, I like that they slowed it down. I will always give them props for slowing it down, 100%. But then, when you do slow it down, the one thing is the riffs you have to hit real well. And I think a lot of them are just kind of like, almost like riffing just for the sake of saying something. And I've kind of felt that way through a lot of this version of the series. All episodes of any riff, whether it's Mystery Science or Riff Treks, they're all going to have at least a couple riffs that are like, we just kind of needed to say something here. This is the best that we could do. But it feels like in the Netflix and post era, that's a lot of the jokes. Whether you're going really fast or a lot slower now, it kind of shows like they're kind of just riffing to fill the space sometimes. And I think Munchie was such a giving movie in terms of bad that they could do a lot stronger riffs. And I think Dr. Mordred gave quite a bit, that they were able to do a bit stronger as well. I feel like the first half of Demon Squad was able to do that, was able to give them a lot more. But for some reason, that second half, man, maybe just because it wasn't a giving movie, again, maybe the writers were sick and tired of it, but it just fell off the face of the earth. So, that's my current thoughts on the series as it stands at 6 episodes on the very early morning, it's almost 4 in the morning on July 4th, 2022, where I just feel thus far like, the seasons have never been perfect. There's not a perfect Mystery Science season, though season 5 is probably the closest you're ever going to get because it's so good. But most seasons are more consistent and stronger than the newer ones. And I would hope that after 20 episodes and multiple live tours, this crew and cast and writers would be more steady and more reliable in terms of how good an episode is. Unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case. They just have some rough episodes, or even an episode that starts out fine and then just like completely plummets. You know, I don't know why. I'm not sure. And again, I don't blame any one specific person, or like, again, it's not easy. Riffing isn't easy, but the thing is, these people have done it, and they've done it well. Even within this season, they've now done it well. So why is some of it so rough? You know? Some of it is like so hard to get through still, and I'm not sure why. Again, I'm not doing it, I'm not in that writer's room, I don't know, but it's just so inconsistent. It's so inconsistent. It, you know, with a lot of the same group of people that have done it, you know. I don't know, man. Like, I hope that the season only continues to get better. I hope Emily and her crew only get stronger. I really hope they replace Josh with Connor. I assume that's what they're gonna do. That'd be kind of weird if they didn't. I hope that Kelsey gets stronger as a riffer, even if her voice doesn't really fit Crow as the character he usually is. If it's like her own interpretation, that's fine. It just didn't, you know, like I said, I think they could have modified Emily's bots a little bit more. But it's like, I hope they all get stronger and better and feel comfortable in the place they are in with their characters, and that it just gets better. But like I said, even Jonah and his boss, those first 2 episodes aren't that good. You know, they're fine, but like, I'm never gonna watch them again. I had people saying that in my comments as well. People were talking with me about it, saying like, yeah, it was fine, but I'm probably not gonna sit through it again. And like, that's the thing. They're like fine on one viewing. Like, you're like, okay, I guess I'm glad I watched it, but I'm never watching it again. And like, thanks to Munchie, like, I know this crew can do better because you just did it. Like, I know, like, cast and crew, you can do better. You just did. So I really hope it only improves from here. This, like, the beginning, I was like, okay, I get it. And then the second half, maybe a little bit more than that, like, just kept going, like, I could feel myself not making any comments and not laughing. Like, I could just feel myself not reacting because there was nothing to react to. And I'm like, man, I'm going to be cutting out a lot in the later half of this for the video. So it's probably good that I talked so much at the beginning in terms of, like, the host segments and stuff. Because I was like, there's not going to be a lot in the latter half of this. Because there just really wasn't. There wasn't anything for me to, like, say anything about. Nothing was happening. So, in that way, it is disappointing. I thought it would be, especially based on the beginning, I thought it would be stronger, and it wasn't. And so I can't fully recommend it unless you're going for, like, just to see Joel. I get it. You know, just to see how this one turns out, or to stay in on the plot, if that's part of what you're following this for whatever reason, then yes. You know, or just to complete the collection. I get it. But again, after the first half, you could just, like, shut it off. It doesn't really... Fast forward to that last host segment, because that was cute, and, like, that's it. Like, you know... So, but please let me know what you thought. Did you like it? Were you disappointed in any aspect of it? Of whether it be Joel's actual return or the writing or not? Were you pleasantly surprised? Did you love it? Were you super excited about Joel's return and it did not disappoint and the writing didn't disappoint? Like, I want to know. And again, I'm not offended and I'm not upset. If you disagree with me, that's cool. I like that you can watch me despite not agreeing with me, because I try to do that too. Like, when I like a person just for, like, who they are, even if I don't agree with them on stuff, like, that's totally cool, and I hope that we have that kind of relationship. So I genuinely want to hear everyone's comments about this one, probably this one more than any other episode this season, because it is such a weird phenomenon in this series, especially this season. But anyway, thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.